So for those of you that don't have much time, I thought we'd just do a relatively quick session, or at least that's my intention anyway. I'll try not to waffle. So let's start sitting in Sukhasana, as I often start classes actually. So just feeling into this posture and seeing already if you can find your feet here. And whether the feet can become more involved in the posture as if they wanted to find the mat. And how that might make you more aware of your knees and the sense of the knees wanting to find more of the hips. And then just notice your pelvis. Noticing your middle, noticing all the way upper body, hands, shoulders, skull. And this sense of trying to find a little bit more freedom within the body, mind. We'll then see what happens when we open the eyes. And we take the left foot onto the mat ahead of us if you can. And so we're just going to explore this left foot and the sense that you could come onto the left foot and the buttocks could come away from the mat. So the hands can just support you without sort of rigidly pushing into them. So even with the hands on the mat, you're trying not to round your spine and drop your head. So there's a sense of being in the left foot, and there's a sense of the left knee wanting to come back to the left hip a little bit. And even here, even though the emphasis currently is on this left foot, see if you can also make it a little bit about your right leg, noticing what's happening to your right leg. So there's your right foot. Your right knee also wants to find more of the right hip. The tail wants to free itself. There's more space in the pelvis. So actually maybe from here, we just notice what's happening. And if we try not to lose the upper body, we might just stay stationary just for a moment. Really have that sense of the pubic bones going back, as if your tummy, I've talked about this before to some of you, might want to rest on water. And then let's see, taking a breath in, breath out, the left leg can go back behind you without sort of overly pulling it away, so that the right buttock comes up and the left kneecap finds the mat. But even then there's a sense of this left leg wanting to come up towards the left hip rather than dragging it away. And then you can find more of your right shin in your right foot. And notice, almost like there's a spreading through the buttocks and the tail, and a sense of coming up again, so the head's up if possible. And just notice that might take you to your breath. It just took me to my breath. A sense of freedom. A sense of being in the right leg, in your left leg, in your body. And then we'll take a breath in, breath out, and kind of reverse that so that the right buttock might come down and the left leg comes all the way back around. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So the left foot can come also towards the right side of the mat. Right foot comes on the mat. And again, just playing around with that idea of right foot feeling the earth, right knee to right hip. Almost like a deepening in that right hip joint, but at the same time more awareness of your right iliac crest, so they're like around the top of the hip bone there. And maybe the weight coming forward into the right foot, just to feel that, so the buttocks come up, so you're not dropping in the buttocks. And becoming more curious almost about that skin, the skin at the top of the thigh to buttock, and finding more, is the word lift, or just more awareness there really. So the tail frees itself a little bit more. And as you do that actually, there's more of a sense of gathering, I think, in your middle as well. And so once you've done that a few times, with awareness, then you start to find more of your left shin and left foot. And that sense of connection, left knee to left hip. And then remembering it's a round joint, right? One socket joint, the right hip joint. So we'll take a breath in, breath out, and take that leg back behind us. The kneecaps on the mat perhaps, toes, and there's a sense of gathering the leg up rather than dropping it down. And so there's a sense of the pubic bones going back in space, like the tummy could rest on water, but the upper back wants to come up a little bit, and the fingertips can support you without becoming rigid, hopefully. And this breath, of course. Sometimes there's an encouragement for the breath that feels in this position. So this is a preparatory pose for Ekapada Rajakapotasana pigeon. And then from here, it kind of lends itself to go into Bhujangasana, I think. So maybe both hands find the mat now. And again, there's a sense of the right foot and the right knee coming towards the right hip, and a sense of the pubic bones going back in space rather than just dropping down, and the tail being free as you take a breath in, breath out, and that left leg going back as well. And here we are in Bhujangasana, and a sense of coming up through the spine and breathing. And then I wonder if we might keep this as we take another breath in. And as you breathe out, almost like a small child, just bringing your knees up the mat a little bit. And there's softness through the spine, and you're still going up through your upper back. And you're trying not to become all rigid and like angular. There's a freedom through the wrists as the toes tuck under. And then let's just have a go at a little Adho Mukha Svanasana, so downward facing dog. So the knees come up, they're still going up through the spine, not lifting the buttocks. So they'll go so far, and then the heels can come down. And there's softness, hopefully, and freedom. And there's awareness of the pelvis, and you get more of a sense of the pubic bones going back in space. And you feel a little bit more horizontal through the spine, I think. So you're not trying to replicate a V shape in any way. You actually feel more like a dog, or how I imagine a dog may feel. And then we'll take a breath in, breath out, bending knees and elbows simultaneously if you can. Try not to push into your upper back, so keeping the spine deep. And then taking your feet one way or another and coming all the way back into Sukhasana. And just notice how that's changed just after practicing a couple of postures. How much more in the body you possibly feel, much more collected, contained. But notice also what it's done with your breath. Maybe you just sit here for a few moments, just watching your breath. Or maybe you just bring yourself to lie for a few minutes if you can. And observe the breath that way instead. So even when you're coming down to lie, try not to become really flat on the mat. Be really aware of your feet and your knees and your hips. And your hands and your elbows and your shoulders and the back of your skull and your spine free. And easeful lungs.